product in the market, or whether it is introduction of a new product in the market, or it is for changing in the attributes or making some modification in the product. Then what will facilitate proper choice of target market, which would be an advantage. Then it will help to decide the markets and help them to how to conquer them. Then makes the marketing effort more efficient and economic. किस तरीके से हम मार्केटिंग एफर्ट्स को ज्यादा से ज्यादा अच्छा कर पाएं और किस तरीके से हम इकोनॉमाइज कर पाएं सारी चीजों को. Then it will bring benefits not only to the marketer but also to the customers as well. Then how effective market segmentation would be done? One would be done on the basis of measurability. What would be the size of the market which we are trying to segment, and what is the purchasing power? Means what is the purchasing power of the customer? When we talk of in terms of brand loyalty, in terms of market size, in terms of market potential, especially. What are the number of customers which are preferring that particular product? Then accessibility is reached and served through the suitable means of distribution channels. Accessibility means what is the basis through which the product could easily reach the market? Means what are the marketing intermediaries involved in it? Whether the the product is prepared and directly being sold from the manufacturing to the wholesalers and directly to the retailers in the market, or it has been passing through various channels from the manufacturers to the to the wholesalers, and from the wholesalers to the retailers, and then to the customers. So what is basically the sourcing, or we can say division of product, or the basis? Then what is the sustainability, whether it will be larger or profitable for it? किस तरीके से हम डिफरेंशिएट कर सकते हैं एक प्रोडक्ट को दूसरे प्रोडक्ट से? Maybe you are clearly able to distinguish one particular product with the other. After segmenting the market, it is very essential to understand what is the targeting of the market, how to target the market. So targeting is the target market is the market or market segments which form the focus of firm's marketing efforts. Once segments have been identified, decisions about how many and which customer groups or to target must be made. Who are the persons who ultimately we are targeting? Either we are targeting the higher income groups, either we are targeting the low income groups, or we are targeting the middle income groups. किन लोगों को हम टारगेट कर रहे हैं और किस पे हम फोकस कर रहे हैं? So when we are making use of targeting, sometimes we are trying to make use of mass market. What kind of strategy our company is making use of? Sometimes the company make use of mass marketing strategy, that is offering on products and services concept to most of the market across many market segments. There are many small players in the market who prepare the product only to increase the sales volume, and while the sales volume is being increased, means the sales of the company is increased, उसके बाद वो target नहीं करते हैं product को, तो उसके basis पे क्या होता है? They are trying to just increase the level of profits. जब profits increase हो गए तो profits fulfill हो गए, या profits को हमने reach out कर लिया, तो हमने ज्यादा से ज्यादा कस्टमर्स को सेटिस्फाई कर लिया. ठीक है, तो हमने प्रॉफिट्स रीच कर लिए. और बहुत सारी ऐसी कंपनीज होती हैं जो नाउ देन आती हैं और चली जाती हैं, बिकॉज दे आर ओनली फॉर अ शॉर्टर टर्म पर्पस. दे आर नॉट बेसिकली दे आर नॉट लुकिंग फॉर व्हाट इज द नीड्स वांट्स of the customers or what kind of demand of the market is there. Then single segment strategy, which is concerning the single segment with a product or the service concept. Means whether they would be concerning with the demographic segment, they would be concerning with the geographical segment, maybe they are into the sub segment, that is the niche market, or they are into any other psychographic or behavioral segmentation, or any particular income group को हम target कर रहे हैं, or supposingly preparing products for the rural markets or preparing product for the elite people और luxury items कैसे prepare कर रहे हैं, तो उन सारी चीजों को देखने की जरूरत है. That is single segment. Multiple segment strategy, products for each segment and different marketing mix in each case. Targeting a different product or service concept of each of number of segments and developing a targeting marketing mix strategy for each of the selected segments. So here you are targeting a different product, which is multi-segment strategy. Multi-segment is where you are targeting many segments, number of segments, and you are developing many kind of strategies. Means your company is not only targeting only one particular people. Like the soaps and the detergents which are being made are a very good example of a multi-segment, because they're not only targeting any particular customer only or level of consumer, they are targeting the larger section of consumers. That will be a multi-segment. In case of type of consumers, whether they are a psychographic segmentation, whether they are looking for income groups or the type of consumers, तो उसमें भी हम segment कर सकते हैं. That would be a multi-segment strategies. Then what would be factors influencing choice of targeting a targeting strategy? Segmentation strategies are more critical during the maturity stage of the product market, because buyers' needs are different. At the introductory stage, they are few, and after they reach a competition, they become more. Especially when a new product has to launch in the market, whether how much benefits it is having, it is very easy to handle the thing. But later on in the maturity stage, where the product reaches a maturity stage during the product life cycle, and at a stage where the growth is stagnant, how to increase the growth, or else it is going to diminish. So increasing of the growth will only take place for that particular product, depending on what kind of strategies the customers, the marketers are looking for. What kind of strategies the marketers are using for, उसके बेसिस पर ही आपकी segmentation strategies को हम design कर पाएंगे. Now, what will be the choice of the segments? There would be 5 factors which will govern the attractiveness of a segment. One is a segment size, the other is segment growth, profitability, current and potential competition, capabilities of a business. So the segment size is very important. Whether you are doing a geographical segmentation, you are doing a behavioral segmentation, or psychographic, or any kind of segment, it depends on how large number of customer base are you targeting. कितना बड़ा customer base है जिसको आप target कर रहे हैं, वो बहुत important होता है जब हम किसी भी strategy बनाते हैं किसी भी particular segment को करने के लिए. Then segmentation growth is very important. Segmentation, what kind of segment growth are we looking for? Whether we are looking for an increasing phase or we are looking for a maturity phase, किस phase पे हम segment कर रहे हैं product को? Product क्या face कर रहा है? Supposingly the product is already available in the market and it is facing maturity phase. So maturity phase पे we have to look forward that it should not go for decline, and how to increase the profitability, how to increase more number of customer base, what is the market potential. Market potential means what are the number of buyers which are available for the product in the market. So profitability of the segment is also very important. इस particular segment से हमें कितना profit मिल रहा है, जिस particular segment के लिए हमने product को design किया है. कई बार हम multi segment के लिए design करते हैं, like I said, for the soap and the detergents which are being designed. Current and potential competition. What is the current competition and what will be the competition in the coming times to come? How they are trying to do with it. Then what is the capabilities of the business? How capable the business is. Now, approaches of targeting market, undifferentiated approach, differentiated approach, and concentrated approach. Undifferentiated approach is sales growth strategy that ignores market segment differences and attempts to appeal all prospective customers with a single basic product line through mass advertising and distribution. हम एक ही पर्टिकुलर स्ट्रैटेजी के साथ सारे कस्टमर्स को टारगेट कर लेते हैं. दैट इज एन अनडिफरेंटेड अप्रोच. दैट इज जैसे आपकी गैसोलाइन हो गई, व्हाइट ब्रेड हो गई, सॉफ्ट ड्रिंक्स हो गई, इसमें कोई भी एक पर्टिकुलर सेगमेंट के यूज करने की स्ट्रैटेजी की जरूरत नहीं है, बिकॉज हम bread everyone has to go for, buns everyone has to go for, gas cylinders everyone has to go for, soft drinks everyone will try to prefer, soaps and detergents everyone will try to prefer. तो ये सारी चीजें हो गई. So what will be the advantages of undifferentiated approach? Undifferentiated approach के advantages क्या हैं? It is a wide audience. Since the target audience is broad, the number of successful hits is high because of the low probability of single customer person turning up. Then less risky होती है, production cost के basis पे higher potentials होते हैं, और market research cost and advertising cost are relatively slow. differences approach होती है, differential approach अगर हम करते हैं तो sales growth strategy in which several market niches or population segments are targeted with different products for each niche or segment. हम किस पर्टिकुलर सेगमेंट के लिए हम टारगेट कर रहे हैं, किस पर्टिकुलर निश के लिए हम टारगेट कर रहे हैं, उसके लिए एक हम डिफरेंशियल अप्रोच की बात करते हैं. ठीक है, तो उस हिसाब से हम ग्रोथ स्ट्रैटेजी डिजाइन करते हैं. इवन लाइक सेगमेंट विद इन अ सेगमेंट, निश मार्केट की बात करें या हम किसी पर्टिकुलर सेगमेंट की बात करें, तो दोज विल बी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. पोजिशनिंग concepts. Now, when we talk of positioning is basically how do you position your product? How do you place your product in comparison to the other products in the market? Positioning concept may be functional, symbolic, or maybe experimental. So functional concept is relevant to the products designed to solve consumption related problems for externally generated consumption needs. Toothpaste aimed to prevent cavities and banks offering convenient service fall into this category. इस तरीके से हम टूथपेस्ट वगैरह को डिजाइन करते हैं. Then symbolic concept relate to buyers internally generated needs for self enhancement, role position, group membership और ego satisfaction. Cosmetics हैं जो कि आपकी lifestyle और clothes dressing वगैरह से relate करते हैं. Experimental concept is used to position products that provide sensory pleasure, variety or cognitive stimulation. That is like documentary films हो गई, books हो गई, ये सारी चीजें आपकी experimental segmentation की होती हैं. What are the steps in determining a positioning plan? First is to define the segments in a particular market. First and the foremost thing is how do we define the segments? किस तरीके से हमारे segments हम नेक्स्ट उस पे डिफाइन कर सकते हैं. डिसाइड विच सेगमेंट टू टारगेट, किस पर्टिकुलर सेगमेंट को हम टारगेट करना चाहते हैं. विच फर्म थिंक्स इट कैन बी सक्सेसफुली एक्सप्लॉइटेड. देन अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट द टारगेट कस्टमर्स एक्सपेक्ट एंड बिलीव टू बी द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्टर्स. किस पर्टिकुलर टारगेट कस्टमर्स को हम टारगेट करना चाहते हैं. देन प्रोडक्ट को हम किस तरीके से डेवलप करना चाहते हैं, कैसे उसको केटर करना चाहते हैं, वो सारी चीजें बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होती हैं. इस केस में इवैल्यूएट द पोजिशनिंग एंड इमेजेस एज परसीव्ड बाय द टारगेट मार्केट ऑफ completing the offerings in the selected market segment. Positioning is concerned with how the brand will be perceived in the minds of the users with respect to the competing brands. The first and the foremost thing while we are doing a positioning of the product is we are defining the segments in the particular market. First, to identify out which particular segment we are trying to do, then how to decide which particular segments to target, specify customers key purchasing consideration, किस particular consideration को हम कंसिडर करते हैं, कैसे हम ब्रांड डेवलप करते हैं ब्रांड को टू मीट द परचेजिंग कंसिडरेशंस, देन कैसे हम इवैल्यूएट करते हैं, इवैल्यूएट पोजिशनिंग इमेजेस फॉर कंपीटिंग प्रोडक्ट्स और इन टारगेटेड segments, then select the image. Just a minute. बेटा 1 मिनट में वर्कशॉप कर लूं, 5 मिनट. Evaluate the positioning images of competing products in targeted segments. Then it's how you will be selecting the image to set what kind of, then how you are trying to communicate that image to target customers with appropriate marketing mix. Positioning strategy हम किस तरीके से use करते हैं, how we are trying to make use of different positioning strategies. Product positioning indicates what the products represents, how the customers should evaluate it. Positioning is accomplished through the use of marketing mix variables, particularly through product design and marketing communications. Positioning is to achieve product differentiation, applies equally to consumer and to the industrial goods also. Positioning is, which is accomplished through the use of marketing mix variables, particularly through the product design and marketing communications, or positioning is to achieve product differentiation, applies equally to consumer and to the industrial goods also. So when we position the product, it is very important to see whether we are positioning the products for the user category, for the benefits, or for the occasions, or for the features. Sometimes we are trying to do it for the user categories, that is for executives, for frequent travelers and all. For benefits like what particular benefit, like in oral market I had said that for the whitening of the teeth, for the fresh breath, or for the some kind of medicinal quality. Then by occasions, on holidays, how we are making use of अगर आप outfits कोई खरीदने चाहते हैं तो सबसे पहले देखते हैं official wear हमें लेना है. Most of the thing, people who are more in offices think of official wear. Some people think of taking casual outfits. People think of taking party wear outfits or holiday wear or some kind of those. By features would be reliability कैसी है, uniqueness कैसी है, performance कैसी है. Position a single brand. In order to make the most out of the single brand, a firm should try to associate itself with a core segment of the market where it can play a dominant role in. The brand has to be positioned in the marketplace so that it can stand competition from the strongest rival brand. Its unique position should be maintained by creating the appearance in fact of the different product. Now, positioning a single brand would be like your luxurious items ho gaye. Positioning multiple brands would be there. Multiple brands can be introduced in the market due to two reasons: to achieve growth by offering varied products in different segments of the product, to meet competitor threats to a single brand. Then what kind of positioning strategies you would use for? Now, what is the benefit of having positioning? What is the advantage that comes about when an organization can offer at a lower cost a bundle of benefits perceived as equivalent to those of the competition? Then value advantages, this kind of positioning advantages based upon occupying a location in the product attributes. Space represents for buyers the most preferred combination of attributes, and is not currently occupied by many of the competitors. So this was all about your consumer behavior. So for those who want me to share the slide, I will share the entire presentation on your on the WhatsApp group. After this, if you have any doubts, you can ask me. Do you have any doubts on this? Whatever has been discussed today?
No, ma'am, nothing as of now.
As if now you don't have any doubts. Okay. Anyone else?
Ma'am, instead of any doubt, I have a question.
Yeah. Yeah.
What should be the quantity of a answer that we will be writing during the exams?
No, it
Means
all
the word.
depends on supposing it is a short answer or it is a long answer or a very long answer. What is the number of marks the question is carrying? That is also very important while you are making use of. Supposingly 2 marks का answer है या 5 marks का है तो उसी हिसाब से आप one paragraph या if it is a 5 marks or one page at the most has been required. And if it is a 10 marks question, you need to explain a lot. You
Mhm.
need to explain 10 to 15 marks पे आपको explain करने की जरूरत है. Supposingly it has been asked what is consumer behavior, what are the features of consumer behavior or how do you segment the market. तो वो सारी चीजें आपको देखनी पड़ेंगी. ठीक है?
Okay. Means at least 500 word limit should be
हाँ
there
हाँ
for
हाँ हाँ.
uh,
टू टू
10 to
थ्री
15
पेज
marks
टू
question.
टू थ्री पेजेस में जगह 10 to 15 पे उसका क्वेश्चन है 10 to 15 marks का 2 to 3 pages would be required.
Okay. Okay. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Anyone else wants to ask anything? Okay, then you can exit for today. Thanks to all of you for joining the session.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Oh,
हेलो सर भाई ये कह रहा है हेलो कोई मुझे आवाज देगा भाई एक डाउट क्लियर कर दो यार
Good afternoon, sir. Himanshu, sir, you may start the session.
Hello, Ji ma'am. Good afternoon.
Very good afternoon, sir. We welcome you at this platform, sir.
Ji. Hello.
Sir, we are listening. And I think
Okay.
students also must be listening.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a nice pleasure for me to discuss with you all the topic of business communication. Business communication, basically, what we understand or what we should understand is communication is something which is very, very important for any organization. So, we should understand that for any organization to continue, or for an organization to run, we should have proper. Today we should discuss on the say what basically communication is, because communication is something where two or more people interact with each other. At present we are interacting. I am speaking to you all and you people are listening to me. What happens is, if we communicate with each other, we try to send certain messages, and when we send certain messages, the other person will share those messages. So basically, communication is a process of sharing messages, because what is important in the society is, as it is well known, that we all human beings are there who communicate with each other. The languages may be different, living lifestyle may be different, but when we communicate, when we understand each other, when we understand, say, each other's, say, mm, personal habits. So my voice is not clear. Hello.
Sir, it's breaking in between.
जी
So the
बीच में
voice is
ब्रेक आ रहा है.
cracking in
अच्छा,
between.
ये
हाँ
हो
जी,
सकता
जी
है
sir.
कि देख, मेरे हमारे यहाँ नेट की इशू है अभी. हाँ, थोड़ा मोबाइल वो स्लो आ रहा है. मैं अपना वो कर दूँ, फोटो ऑफ कर दूँ तो शायद आवाज़ क्लियर आ जाए. जस्ट अ मिनट, लेट मी चेक. हेलो, अब कुछ आवाज़ क्लियर जा रही है? हेलो.
Yes, sir, it is clear now.
Yes sir.
Yes, sir.
हाँ, दरअसल
Sir,
मैडम
we can hear you.
कुछ नेट का इशू है, तो उससे क्या हुआ कि जब वीडियो और ऑडियो दोनों चल रहा है तो हमें लगता है कि द साउंड में नॉट बी गोइंग प्रॉपरली. Now, these are the basic things which we should understand in communication. If we are not able to say what I am trying to share, what I am trying to say, discuss with you all, if you are not able to listen, then it is going to be useless. So basically, try to understand that communication is a process where both the persons, one who is sending the message and other who is receiving the message, should understand each other's communication, should understand what the other person is trying to say. Then only we will have proper communication. If we are not able to understand, if there is some issue, then what will happen is that communication will not be clear. So it is very important that communication in any organization should be proper. If the communication is proper, then only the organization will be living together. The people in the organization will be living together. Poor communication may, say, create rift, differences, and other problems in the organization. So a healthy organization, what we believe, should have a proper form of communication. This we all must understand. Communication is, you can say, something like blood circulation in the human body. Till the circulation is on, the body is alive. Similarly, till the communication is on, the organization is alive. Once the communication stops, and once there is something, some sort of a poor communication, a poor message, or a wrong message, what will happen is the whole organization will be in a problem, and there will be issues, different types of issues in the organization, and you may not have proper results, or you may not have as expected answers as followed. So it is very important to have a proper form of communication so that we are able to communicate with each other, and we are able to understand that communication is very important in the organization. So, what is important is that communication is something which should be done and which gives a healthy movement of things in the organization. So now what we try to understand, we'll try to see that communication is something which brings an organization into the which improves the functioning of the organization and which brings the organization in the current form in which you are seeing. So communication is very important function of any business organization. So when we see how important, are you able to see the slides also? No. The slides had already been shared. If you are able to see, then it's all right. Otherwise, I'll let you know the importance of communication in business. Because any business, if it has to be successful, it has to have a proper form of communication. So communication is something like all managerial functions like planning, organizing, directing, coordinating, controlling can be well performed with the tool of good communication. So do we know what are the functions of management? The basic functions of management are planning, organizing, coordinating, directing and controlling. These are the basic functions of any organization. These are the functions every manager perform, and these functions can only be performed with the tool of good communication. If you have a good communication process, then only you will be able to do planning, because say planning needs a lots of input. If we don't have those many inputs, then how can you think of completing a planning process? So a planning process needs all
Sir, you are
different
not audible
inputs.
properly, sir.
Hello, somebody is saying something. Is there any problem? Any student who wants to say something, is there any problem?
यस सर स्लाइड शो नहीं हो रही हैं सर.
अच्छा, स्लाइड्स इसमें शो नहीं हो रही होगी क्योंकि मेरे वो स्लाइड्स तो ये पहले मैंने दे रखा था MBA ऑनलाइन में.
ओके सर.
वहीं से खोलना है. हाँ, बिजनेस कम्युनिकेशन के स्लाइड्स MBA ऑनलाइन क्लासेस में दे रखा था ग्रुप में, वहीं से खोलना है बेटा. ठीक है. हेलो हेलो. अगर नहीं शो हो रहा है तो अभी इसके बाद ये स्लाइड फिर से आपके ग्रुप पे सेंड कर दिया जाएगा. विल दैट बी सफिशिएंट?
यस सर, आप शेयर कर दीजिएगा सर फिर स्लाइड्स.
हाँ श्योर. आपके वैसे MBA ऑनलाइन ग्रुप पे बेटा शेयर्ड है ऑलरेडी, वहीं से मैं भी देख रहा हूँ.
सर हम लोग हमारे ग्रुप पे तो शेयर नहीं है सर.
बेटा अब मैं चेक कर लेता हूँ. मैं तो वहीं से देख रहा हूँ. MBA ऑनलाइन जो ग्रुप बना हुआ है उस पर ऑलरेडी शेयर था, मैं वहीं से देख रहा हूँ.
सर किस तारीख को शेयर हुआ था?
ये पुराना है बेटा, पहले का है. मैं अभी तो नहीं बता पाऊँगा क्योंकि आई एम ऑन मोबाइल ना, बहुत सारे फंक्शंस उतने हैं नहीं.
सर इफ यू कैन शेयर द PDF नेम, जो भी मतलब उस फाइल का नाम
ही है लिखा हुआ टॉपिक, बिजनेस कम्युनिकेशन. आई होप अगर आप वी कैन कंटिन्यू द डिस्कशन, तो फिर इसकी बात हम लोग बाद में कर लेंगे. कोई ऐसी दिक्कत है?
ये सर बाद में कर लेंगे सर, आप स्टडी कंटिन्यू करिए सर.
हाँ अगर हम डिस्कशन कंटिन्यू करते हैं, हाँ, तो पहला हमने कहा कि मैनेजरियल फंक्शंस हम लोग जानते हैं जितने होते हैं: प्लानिंग, ऑर्गेनाइजिंग, डायरेक्टिंग, कोऑर्डिनेटिंग एंड कंट्रोलिंग। ये बेसिक फंक्शंस हैं। इसमें प्लानिंग करने के लिए बहुत सारे इनपुट चाहिए। प्लानिंग इज अ लॉन्ग प्रोसेस जहाँ पे हम ढेर सारे वी से get inputs from the history of the organization, from the present functioning of the organization and the future, and then we plan accordingly. Say Government of India prepares 5-year plans, so that is something for next 5 years what it will do. The government also prepares short-term plans like 1-year plan also. So basically these plannings can only be done if we have proper communication. If the communication is not proper, then planning is not possible. Similarly, organizing, when we organize people to work together, when we assign them different duties, different jobs, when we assign them different tasks to perform, will be performing which particular task, these things can only be done if we are able to have proper communication. If we know the abilities of the person, if we know the ability of the job required, if we know the ability of the individuals say functioning in the organization, the culture they are having, the lifestyle they are having, the work style they are having, then only we can have a proper organizing. Otherwise what will happen? The organizing may not be that proper, and obviously then the organization functioning may not be that proper. Similarly, directing, coordinating and controlling. Now we should not go to detail about this. So we should understand that communication is most important to perform these basic functions of organization. If the communication process is not proper, then these basic functions of organizations cannot be performed. An organization cannot say achieve its goals and the heights it wants to reach. So what will happen is we need to have a proper form of communication. If the communication is not proper, then the organization may not be as successful as we want it to be. So what is important, again we are coming to the point, the communication is very, very proper. What happens is there are many times if you go in one situation and go to the other situation, then you will find that in different situations communication, many a times they, they are not able to develop relations because they don't have good communication. So communication is very important, as if you are able to communicate with each other, to understand each other, to understand the problems of each other, and to understand the general functioning of organization. The other importance is the process of communication makes it possible for managers to carry out their task responsibilities. Information must be communicated to others to be carried out. So if you have proper communications, then only functions of the organization, the managers can do whatever the jobs they are assigned to perform. If you are not able to communicate, say as you students were informed that we will be having classes from 3 o'clock today, so you joined online. Had this communication been not been there, or had this communication been provided say at 3:15, or had this communication might not reach you, could this communication might not reach you due to some technical failure or some technical problem, as I am facing just now, of say network. So you may not have joined these classes. So informations must be communicated to others to be carried out. So what we need to understand is a proper functioning can only be possible if we give proper information. If you don't give them proper information, what will happen? Your tasks may not be completed in time, or rather what will happen? Your task may not be completed as you wanted it to be completed. जैसे कि हम जैसा चाहते थे वैसा वो काम नहीं होगा. What is the issue is कि हमने whatever the communication was, either I gave an incomplete communication or I gave a communication which was not having proper meaning. So every communication should be complete, because what I am trying to say, the person in front of me should understand it in the same fashion. He should not understand it in a different manner. You are getting my point? Say I am talking from one point of view and the person listening to me is understanding from a different point of view. So what will happen? He may not be able to communicate properly, and he may not be able to give his ideas properly, and he may not be able to perform his duties properly. Many a times you may have seen in different areas where we have say many jokes also on communication, because when we say something and the person in front of us understands a different thing, so he will react in a different manner. So if you want the same person to react in the same manner, we need to have a proper form of communication where understanding between the two is very clear and people are getting what is being communicated. Then managers, next is the managers can carry out their management functions only by interacting with and communicating with others. Any manager who has to perform his managerial function has to interact and communicate with his fellow members. If he doesn't interact, he sits idle. He only say, suppose you are in charge of a service center and you are sitting on in your office assigning jobs on your computer, and you are not interacting with the person, you don't know what they are doing, you don't interact them that this is important and the other things is important. So what will happen is, at a time there may be a situation when lots of job has been assembled and they are not being there is a confusion in the organization, as the manager was not communicating properly, or other manager was only communicating digitally and not communicating say by other methods also. So what we need to have a proper form of all round communication, so that manager, the employees, the subordinates do understand what is important, and similarly the manager may be able to communicate properly. Many a times what happens is language, people, I am trying to say something and the language they don't understand, but then also you can communicate. Say if I go to a place where the person is not communicating, when suppose I go to a place where nobody understands Hindi and I also don't understand their language. So if you want to know time, what will you do? So obviously if you ask समय क्या हुआ, he will not understand, the person in front of you. If you ask what is the time, he will not understand. So basically what will happen, you show the place where you wear the watch and the person will understand, and then he can communicate with fingers, 4 fingers, then he will understand it's 4 o'clock. So what is important is that communication should take place where both the parties understand each other, then only communication can take place. If the both parties do not understand each other, if they don't say, if they don't think of each other say perception, if you don't think of each other's behavior, they may not be able to understand, and if they are on different frames, then surely they will not be able to understand each other, and what will happen, that the organization may not have fruitful communication. The communication process is thus the foundation for the management function. So we can understand that communication is foundation of management function, where each management function is wholly dependent on proper communication. So communication connects the organization with the outside world, be it customers, suppliers, government authorities, and other anybody else, and every effective dealing with everybody requires good communication skill. So the communication will connect to you with each and every person around you. And if you are not able to give proper message, if you are not able to communicate properly, what will happen? You will not be able to take people together. आपने देखा है नेताओं को, see these business leaders, they are able to communicate so effectively that they take people along with them. Whatever they say, they will say, the people will agree with it, and whatever they say, people follow that say properly. So what is important is, every time the leader gives a goal and he tries to convince people that this is what we are trying to achieve, And you see, while convincing his individuals, he is taking them together with him, and he makes him to reach the goal of the organization. But rather, they all work together to achieve the goal and heights of the organization. So आप देखिए, you see these religious leaders, they have such a nice communication ability that when they communicate, thousands of people sit in front of them and they listen to them very carefully. What is important there? There's just communication, and obviously, with communication, the knowledge and other things are being shared. But the most important thing is communication. If the communication is not proper, what will happen? He may not be able to hold that many persons together. He may not be able to hold thousands of listeners together, and all those listeners you see, they keep listening to the leader and they believe in the leader. They believe him, they share their ideas with them, and every time they feel that whatever is being shared is going to increase their information process, information, knowledge, and whatever you can say. So, whether it can be a spiritual lecture, whether it can be a political lecture, whether, say, by a political leader, a spiritual lecture by a religious person, or a lecture in the classroom, even. Every time the communication, the effective communication, it should, if it is not effective, then what will happen? The thing that should have passed to the next person will not pass in the same manner, or the other person may not receive the communication in the same spirit, and the communication may go in waste. How do we say that communication may go in waste? Say, जैसे, if you see TV, if you watch TV, there are lot many ads. They are all communication. But how many of them we are watching? Very few. Till it is not very attractive, till it doesn't give very good information, till it is not different, we don't remember. So we see and it passes away. This is what we call, if you believe me, altogether, when we are pass through the roads, watch TV, listen to radio, whatever activity we do, we receive around hundreds of communication every day. It may be more than, say, 200, 300 communication every day. Out of them, they all pass away because we don't receive them. We receive them, but we don't take care of them. So, what is important is communication. If it is not effective, if it is not proper, it may not generate the response that we are trying to have. And if you are not able to generate the response, if you are not able to generate the solution, then there is no use of making communication. So, communication, importance of communication is the main flow of control of different functions of organization, and if it is done properly, then only organization will be able to achieve its goal, and organization will be able to achieve its objectives. So, an organization to achieve, should to perform properly, obviously all other things are required. Different, we don't say that all other things are not required. All other things are required with proper communication process. So, now if you try to understand what is a communication process, so there is Shannon-Weber model of communication. The communication process is a loop that connects the sender and the receiver and operates in both directions. So, communication process is a loop that connects the sender and the receiver. There is a person who is sending the message, who is sending his information, who is sending his ideas, who is sending his thought process to a person who is known as receiver. Now, this process from sending to receiving is called as communication. So, what we should try to know is that these are the things in between the sender and receiver, and these things should be proper, then only we can have proper communication. If these things are not there, or there is some problem somewhere, then the communication may not be that effective as we are trying to make it. The first one in the communication process is sender. Sender may have some idea, Sender may have some thoughts. Sender is the one who wishes to send a message to receiver. Say, if I am one who wants to talk to you, so I am the sender and I want to send some message to the receiver who are the students of this particular class. So the sender is one who wants to send his message to the receiver so that we can share the same message and we can share the message for the benefits of the students. So message should be as such. If it is shared, it should be it should benefit the students, and it should just, what is important is, when you, before this lecture, you didn't have some of the information of communication, and after this lecture, you will be the one with some information, not that very large, very few additional information on communication. It may go on adding with your studies, with your other things that you do. My introduction will add to some knowledge of communication so that it can create interest in you to learn more and to see how this communication process works and how this communication process gives such better results. Or we can say how this communication process gives us the output and how we can improve upon this communication process. Because these days, obviously, the communication is, say, working at a very fast rate, but then also because previously we didn't have classes online. So this is what is, I say, this is another function of communication. You are sitting somewhere far away from me. I am sitting, we don't know where we are sitting, and then also we are listening to each other. This is another improvement in the form of communication by which one can communicate to a large number of persons and obviously share his knowledge, share the information, or induce a thinking in the students to think more about communication. So the first element in a communication process is sender. Then the sender, what will he send? He will send some message. So the next thing is the something that sender wants to convey. It can be an idea, it can be a work process, it can be something new, it can be something different, but it can be some feeling or some information, whatever it is. So the message is what the sender wants to convey. Message is something which the sender wants to send to the receiver. The next step is encoding. Every message has to be put into words or images. There are three encoding skills: speaking, writing, and body language. Now, this communication process, we don't have body language because our cameras are off. So, if you don't have body language, the half of the communication is not there. So, in any communication process, what we believe is between sender and receiver, there are three things: verbal, non-verbal, and body language. You are getting my point? We'll understand what is verbal communication, non-verbal, and body language. Anybody has idea about it? Anybody who understands that if we communicate, what percentage of it is conveyed by body language, what percentage of it is conveyed by the words, and what percentage of it is conveyed by non-verbal communication, the tone and others. No idea, anyone? Do we have someone who is thinking of it?
No, sir.
Not at all. जनरली हम लोग क्या सोचते हैं कि जो हम कहते हैं वही सुनते हैं, क्यों? इस पे तो आप एग्री कर रहे हैं ना?
हाँ जी सर.
जो हम कहते हैं वही सुनते हैं, या जो हम कहना चाहते हैं वही हम अपने मुंह से कहते हैं, क्यों? If you agree, say yes or no.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Whatever is being said, we people say कि we देखिए मैं एक एग्जांपल दूंगा। एक दिन 10 बजे के क्लास में एक लड़का 10:10 पे आता है, ठीक है। कम्युनिकेशन इज ऑलवेज अ टू वे प्रोसेस। कुछ कम्युनिकेट नहीं करेंगे तो फिर ये वन वे कम्युनिकेशन हो जाएगा। So what I'm trying to say is one morning
जी सर।
at a 10 a.m. class, a student reaches at 10:10 a.m. Okay, and the teacher in the class, when he asks permission to
ओके
come
सर।
in, asks what is the time. सर ने क्या पूछा?
व्हाट इज द टाइम?
What is the time? क्या सर यही पूछना चाहते हैं, what is the time?
नो सर।
आपने तो अभी कहा कि जो हम शब्द कह रहे हैं वही कम्युनिकेशन होता है। अगर आप भूल
नो।
से भी कह देंगे सर इट्स 10:10 a.m., तो आगे क्या होगा? Don't you understand that I also know the time? This is what you are giving me the response. And he will start shouting like anything because he never wanted to know the time. He knew it is 10:10 and he just wanted to know why are you late?
यस सर।
That's what the question was. And you will say, see this gentleman, he is asking time and I am telling him the time and he is very much annoyed. तो फिर क्या हुआ? कम्युनिकेशन वहाँ पे ब्रेक कर जाता है। The communication breaks over there. What happened is the person here did not understand the question and the answer given was not understood by the teacher concerned. So what is important is कि हम जो words में कहते हैं और जो टोन में कहते हैं और जो नॉन वर्बल बॉडी लैंग्वेज होता है ना, इसकी परसेंटेज आप देखेंगे तो कम्युनिकेशन कंप्लीट फॉर्म में वी हैव व्हाट द वर्ड से इज ओनली 15 to 20%.
ओह।
Tone determines 30 to 35%, and rest 50% is determined by the body language.
ओके सर।
So body language is very important, and obviously tone is also important.
यस सर।
So many a times what happens if you go by words only, so what will happen? It may create confusion, and you will say, well, you asked time and I am giving you the time. Why are you so much annoyed? But actually he knows the time because he was there at 10 a.m. in the class. He is very much particular about his time. So if you tell him something about the time, he may not be that happy. Anyway, we come back to encoding. So encoding is whatever in the information has to be shared has to be encoded in some form. चाहे वो words में हो, चाहे symbols में हो, चाहे whatever it is. And every time the person in front of you should understand the coding being done.
4:40 हो गए, 20 मिनट बचे हैं बस।
So the next thing in the channel is in the process of communication is transmission channel. Transmission channel is the channel is the medium of transmission from one person to another. For communication to be effective, an efficient channel must be appropriate for the message. So what is important next is कोई भी इंफॉर्मेशन एक आदमी से दूसरे आदमी तक किसी न किसी मीडियम से जाएगा, किसी न किसी चैनल से जाएगा, ऐसे नहीं जाएगा, राइट? क्योंकि से आप दो लोग खड़े होकर बात करते हैं सड़क पे तो वहां भी कोई चैनल होता होगा, यस और नो? से इफ टू
यस
पर्सन्स
सर।
टॉक टू ईच, हाँ क्या होता है चैनल वहां पे?
सर
अगर दो लोग घर में बात करते हैं तो चैनल क्या होता है?
एयर हो सकते हैं सर।
एटमॉस्फेयर, ऑब्वियसली एटमॉस्फेयर इज द चेयर, क्योंकि चैनल आउट देयर, क्योंकि अगर जैसे आपने सुना होगा कि जब हम लोग चांद पे जाते हैं तो वहाँ जो एक आदमी दूसरे से बोलता है तो उसकी आवाज़ नहीं जाती है,
जी
वहाँ
सर।
पे एटमॉस्फेयर नहीं है। अभी जो हम आपसे बात कर रहे हैं, इंटरनेट इज़ द मैनल चैनल जो हमारे इंफॉर्मेशन आप तक पहुँचा रहा है, राइट? सो इंटरनेट के थ्रू वी आर रिसीविंग सेंडिंग मैसेज एंड आई एम रिसीविंग योर मैसेज ऑल्सो। देयर शुड ऑलवेज बी अ चैनल। अगर चैनल नहीं होगा या चैनल पुअर होगा। जैसे अभी हमने अपना वीडियो ऑन किया था तो चैनल हमारा पुअर था, हमारे यहाँ नेट की स्पीड उतनी अच्छी नहीं थी, तो क्या हो रहा था, आवाज़ रुक रुक के जा रही थी। देखा था ना आपने, एक्सपीरियंस किया था। So this is what we call is, if the channel is not proper, then also the communication may not be proper. So to have a communication be very very effective, we must have a channel, a medium, which is carrying the message from one person to the other person, that is from sender to receiver. अगर कहीं से भी चैनल में प्रॉब्लम आया, से टेलीफोन से आप अपने फ्रेंड से बात कर रहे हैं तो वो चैनल इज़ द प्रॉब्लम, say a channel is the telephone line, or say now we have mobile phones. But if there is a disturbance in the communication, say connection, the communication may not be proper. Then what will happen, you are trying to say something and the receiver may not be able to understand it in the same manner. Then the next element is receiver. Receiver is the person or group for whom the communication effort is intended. The message must be crafted with the receiver's background in mind. हमेशा रिसीवर कैसा है इसको देख के ही मैसेज बनाना चाहिए। अगर आप रिसीवर को ध्यान में रख के मैसेज नहीं बनाएंगे, what will happen, you are communicating something else and the receiver is getting something, may not be getting what you are communicating. So it should always be according to the receiver. Say if I am going to somebody is going to communicate with me and he starts speaking in French, I will not understand anything. I may not give him response. What will happen? What he may think, that I am not able to understand him, what this person is. But what is important is he has not understood that he is sending a message to a person who is not able to understand his language. So what we should be very clear, is that there should be a proper language, say proper understanding of the receiver to be able to respond to the communication properly. Then comes decoding, because the receiver will only receive information if he is able to decode it. नहीं तो थोड़े पहले मैंने कहा था जैसे इंफॉर्मेशन लॉस्ट होगा, आपकी इंफॉर्मेशन चली तो receiver did not decode it, so your information was lost, or your information could not output which you want expected from it, right? So decoding is a process by which the receiver interprets the message and translates it into meaningful information. So whatever encoding meaningful message with the same thought will be expressed, understood by the receiver. If he receives in some different fashion, he may end up understanding something different, and he may end up, maybe he is not able to get the message which is intended for him. To complete the process, the next one is feedback. Feedback is reaction. Without it, the sender of the message cannot know whether the recipient has received the entire message or grasped its intent. So feedback is something which is very very important. In a classroom, the nodding of heads of the student is the feedback. The teacher understands that the message is going to these students. But here on this internet, we are not able to understand any feedback. We are not able to understand whether they may not understand whether our message was properly received or not. But then also some feedback is required. There were some students who interacted in between. This is called feedback. The interaction of students just gave the information that they are understanding things. So feedback is something which is very very important in any communication process to complete the loop of the communication process. Otherwise what will happen, that the communication process may not yield proper results. So if you want communication to have proper results, we should have proper feedback, because feedback will determine whether the message was received properly, whether the message was received in the same spirit as it was sent, the meaning was not interpreted in some different part, say way, everything was interpreted as it is was sent. So feedback is something which is very important, and it completes the loop of communication process. And last element is the noise which is available everywhere. Noise, what we call is any disturbance that reduces or confuses the clarity or quality of the message being transmitted. So noise is something which is a hurdle or a barrier in the communication process. So आपको you will know what are the different barriers and how to overcome these barriers. That will be discussed later. But noise, what we call, is a disturbance. कहीं पे
सर आपकी वॉइस ब्रेक हो रही है.
to you, अभी बगल से गाड़ी चली जाएगी वो तेज हॉर्न बजाते हुए, तो you may not be for that particular time आप हमारी बातों को नहीं सुन सकते. सुन भी रहे हो तो आपका टेंशन डाइवर्ट हो जा रहा है. Once the attention is diverted, important is we should have a proper. हेलो, चलो.
सबकी वॉइस क्लियर नहीं आ रही.
वॉइस क्लियर नहीं आ रही
जी
बच्चे,
सर, अभी आ रही
नेटवर्क
है.
की प्रॉब्लम है. आ रही है, आ रही है ना बच्चे लोग. हेलो, एम आई, हाँ
जी सर, आ रही है.
ना,
आप कंटिन्यू कीजिए.
आ रही है. तो मैं
Yes,
आपको
yes,
बता रहा था कि ये सारे जो प्रोसेस हैं, इसी से जो है वो कम्युनिकेशन में हमने आपको दो चीज़ बताई. एक कि कम्युनिकेशन का इम्पोर्टेंस क्या है, और दूसरा प्रोसेस ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन क्या है. राइट, ये दो चीज़ बताई. फिर मैं आपको कुछ थोड़ा सा डेफिनेशंस कुछ बता देते हैं. राइट, तो अभी स्लाइड्स ग्रुप में या तो मैं शेयर कर दूंगा या मैं रीना मैडम से रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा वो शेयर कर दें. राइट, तो आप देखेंगे वो डेफिनेशंस आपको वहाँ पे.
सर शेयर हो गई है सर.
जी बेटा, हेलो.
सर पीपीटी शेयर हो गई है सर.
हो गई ना. हाँ, तो देखिए पहला ऊपर में
सर पीपीटी शेयर हो गई है.
हाँ, तो फर्स्ट स्लाइड को देखेंगे. सॉरी, फर्स्ट स्लाइड को आप देखेंगे तो फर्स्ट स्लाइड हैज सम डेफिनेशंस ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन. दिख रहा है ना.
कम्युनिकेशन.
प्रोसेस ऑफ,
यस सर.
हाँ, प्रोसेस ऑफ पासिंग. हाँ, प्रोसेस ऑफ पासिंग
Any information from one person to the other person.
information from one
With the aid of some medium is termed as communication.
person with the aid of some medium is termed as communication.
जी
एक
सर.
सिंपल डेफिनेशन. प्रोसेस ऑफ शेयरिंग ऑफ मैसेज. थोड़ा सा उसको इंफॉर्मेशन फ्रॉम वन इज टर्म्ड एज बताया जा रहा है. उसी तरह से नेक्स्ट डेफिनेशन है, थोड़ा सा उसको और रिफाइन किया जाता है. कम्युनिकेशन इज द एक्सचेंज ऑफ थॉट्स, मैसेजेस और इंफॉर्मेशन एज बाय स्पीच, विजुअल्स, सिग्नल्स, राइटिंग और बिहेवियर. आप बिना बोले भी कम्युनिकेट, बच्चे हम लोग बिना बोले कम्युनिकेट कर सकते हैं कि नहीं?
सर कर सकते हैं. ये सर कर सकते हैं.
कर सकते हैं ना.
कर सकते हैं सर. यस सर.
अरे कई पिक्चरें होती हैं जो म्यूट होती हैं, देखा ना आपने कभी? चार्ली चैपलिन की आप मूवीज देखिए, हंसते हंसते आदमी थक जाते हैं, देयर इज नो स्पीच. तो एनीवे, तो हम ये कह रहे हैं कि ये जो कम्युनिकेशन है स्पीच से भी, बिहेवियर से भी हो सकता है. किसी चीज़ से भी. बच्चा जो है रोने लगता है तो कम्युनिकेशन शुरू हो जाता है. नाराज होकर मुंह घुमा लेता है, देन आल्सो ही स्टार्ट्स communicating, people start feeling कि कुछ ना कुछ problem है. So any behavior, a particular behavior may also start some form of communication. So communication is always an exchange of thoughts. अगर thoughts exchange नहीं हो रहे तो communication is not taking place. So we must understand the exchange of ideas, thoughts, messages, information is very important. अब थोड़ा और आगे बढ़ते हैं कून्स एंड ओडोनल के डेफिनेशन पे. He says the word communication is derived from the Latin word communis, which means to share. मतलब ये शेयर करना. So communication is the transfer of information from one person to another. This is Kuhns and O'Donnell. These two gentlemen, they have shown a picture also where one person is transferring information to another person. Then if you go by the another definition of George Terry, communication is the exchange of facts, ideas, opinion or emotions by two or more persons. What will happen? You can see in this picture, the first party who sends the information is called sender, and the second party who receives the information, reports the information and accordingly responds is called the receiver or the recipient. So there is a sender and there is a recipient, and obviously the picture shows it's a teacher and a student, where the teacher is sending message and the student gives the feedback, and obviously these feedbacks are very important because these feedbacks add to the value that the students are understanding it or not. If suppose you go on talking and there is no response, so you will not understand whether the message was received or not, or whether the person has understood it or not, or maybe whether we could create some common ground where we are able to share the information. Now I'd like you all to ask some questions and say, I would like to share whatever has been talked, you people must have understood it. I'd like to, well, it's my belief that whatever we talk about communication, importance, process, definition, it has gone through in the spirit as it was designed or planned. I am audible to the students or not? Hello? Someone should respond whether the information message sent went properly or not. Okay, so my one there, Aarti, listening to me or not? You are getting my voice?
Yes, sir.
Other people can also open their mic and say something. I am audible?
Yes, sir.
Clear or not? I am audible. So whatever I talked, it was understood. I think it went through as it was planned. What is important is we give 5 minutes to the students to ask questions. In every class, in every discussion, the students get last 5 to 10 minutes to ask questions. This is called a process of feedback. Basically, this is a process of feedback. So I would like you all to ask any question that you want. All those who are there we are listening to each other. If you ask something, or if you say also whatever was discussed has been understood properly, it would be very, give the proper feedback whether the communication was proper or not. Any feedback from any student? About a topic that we discussed? कोई response नहीं? सुनील जी आवाज जा रही है मेरी? देख पा रहा हूँ कई लोग हैं, ज्यादातर के माइक बंद हैं और nobody is से नेटवर्क धीरे धीरे हमें लगता है पूरी होगी। आवाज नहीं जा रही क्या मेरी? कि ऑफलाइन में तो क्लास में आप सामने होते हैं, आपसे खड़ा करके पूछ लिया जाता है। कई बार ऑफलाइन क्लासेज में ये बताया गया है कि भीड़ में लड़के शर्मा के क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछते। ऑनलाइन में ये फायदा है कि वो अकेले रहते हैं तो क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हैं, उनको कोई झिझक नहीं होनी चाहिए। बट यहाँ पे मैं देख रहा हूँ नोबडी कम्युनिकेटिंग, कोई कुछ बोलने को तैयार नहीं है। कुछ तो बताइए कि आपने सुना नहीं सुना, ये यहाँ तक तो बता दें। whether we were able to मीनाक्षी श्रीवास्तव है, निकिता सैनी है, रश्मि झा, रेखा जायसवाल, रोशनी श्रीवास्तव, संतोष कुमार, सुनील कुमार एंड श्वेता मिश्रा। दीज मेनी स्टूडेंट्स आई कैन सी, जिसमें सबके माइक ऑफ है। तो if you can respond by just one line, two line, then what will happen is it will make it say a complete communication process, because what we talked, I told you, the loop is only completed by the feedback. You cannot say think of loop being completed without feedback. So feedback is very much important. If we are listening to each other, if we are trying to say, if you believe that the process was there to transfer some information about communication from me to you all, were you able to receive it or not? आवाज जा रही है मेरी? कोई नहीं बोलेगा। Anyway, तो आज का टाइम
सर
आपका
बहुत
खत्म ही
ब्रेक हो जा रही है।
तो with these words,
यस सर।
क्या हुआ बेटा? हाँ बोलो, कुछ कह रहे थे आप?
सर आपकी वॉइस बहुत ब्रेक हो रही है।
कहो कुछ।
सर बहुत
whatever you are
ब्रेक
trying,
हो के आवाज आई है सर आपकी
Voice
पूरे
बहुत break
सेशन में सर।
आई एम सॉरी।
ये
आज
सर
के जो ये इशू
अभी भी
था,
बहुत ब्रेक हो रही है।
हाँ ये
यस सर।
अच्छा, अभी ये थोड़ा नेटवर्क के इशू के चलते ये प्रॉब्लम था, राइट। नेक्स्ट टाइम व्हेन वी मीट तो आई विल सी कि वी मेक प्रॉपर अरेंजमेंट कि नेटवर्क प्रॉपर हो, ठीक है। ऑल दीज
यस सर।
वर्ड्स आई थैंक यू फॉर लिसनिंग टू मी। हाँ, जो भी आपने सुना और उन सब के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। अगर कुछ आप पार्टिसिपेट कर लेते वुड हैव बीन मच बेटर। देन ऑल्सो थैंक यू वेरी मच। ठीक है,
थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू।
हेलो मैम, एक्सक्यूज मी। हेलो मैम, हिमांशु वही वही भाई, आठ आठ से लखनऊ मैम।